already done a video on how to create a peyote tube toggle. And if you're not familiar with how to do that, I will pop a link up that will take you to that video. But most of you probably have done it before. And sometimes, the thing is, sometimes if you need to make that toggle a little bit bigger than normal, either wider or fatter than normal to make it fit your project, then that peyote tube can get a little bit wiggly on you. It's not super stiff down the center. Now, if you're just making it 10 rows by 10 beads high, 10 beads long by 10 rows high, then it's going to be stiff enough. But if you're going anything bigger than that, sometimes you need something a little bit more to make that toggle bar stiff enough that it won't come out of your loop. And I've got a really simple trick on how to make that happen. And it's stuff that you have around your house at home. So let me show you how we're going to make that happen. So here I have made a little toggle bar. I used 12 beads across when I made this, and then I also did 12 rows. So it may not look that much bigger than your average toggle bar, but it does, if you see, it does kind of bend a little bit more. And so that can be an issue because your loop can kind of come around that bend and kind of slip off. So in a perfect world, I'd want this to be just a little bit stiffer than it is. So here's how we're going to do it. Paper clip. I know, seriously, is it that easy? It really is, because think about the metal that they use in the paper clips. Think of how stiff this is and how strong this metal is. So this is a perfect thing. You can cut it to size and make it fit the size of your toggle. The only thing is that you're going to have to block up the two ends so that that bar of I believe this is stainless steel, doesn't come out of the center. So we'll have to block up the ends. This time I've got a couple of decorative fire polish here to block up the ends. I would like to say that I am not the genius who thought of this. Maggie Meister is the woman who taught me this little trick. So this is one of the extra large paper clips. Use the large ones. They are stronger, and instead of the small standard size ones, use the big ones. The other thing is, because that metal in there is so strong, this is a memory wire cutter. So don't use your good cutters on this, because that metal is strong enough that it will actually dull your good cutters. So in this case, I'm using a memory wire cutter. If you've got a pair of wire cutters at home that would have, that like you use, maybe your husband uses or you use for home repair kind of stuff, that is just a stronger cutter and that you don't care about keeping that edge super sharp, then you can use that. So let me show you how I do this. You can actually get multiple pieces out of this. I'm just going to pick my spot and cut it. We can kind of, and then you can kind of see how that corresponds to the size of the toggle. Now this is a little bit big, so I'm going to actually trim just a smidge off the end here. There we go. And we're still actually just a little bit big, so let me just cut another little smidge off. There we go. Now that will fit inside that toggle bar just perfectly. What I've got here is I just left my tail thread and my working thread on this particular piece, and I've got it coming out of one of the end seed beads here. I want these little stopper beads, I'm going to call them, to be centered on this tube. So what I'm going to do, if I started adding it right here, see how my thread would go from the outside to the middle, and then I'd have to be real careful when I came back down to make it come to the seed bead directly opposite that, to make it centered on there. We can make our life so much easier. All I'm going to do is I'm going to take that needle and I'm going to pop it straight down the middle of the tube. See how I did that? Didn't go through any beads, just went straight through the middle of the tube. Now my thread is coming out the center of that tube, and so I'm good to go. So I'm going to pick up in this case, this is a 4mm fire polish. You can either pick up just a single seed bead or pick up 3 for a little picot action right there at the tip. I'm going to do 3 for the picot. And then I'm going to pass back through the fire polish, not through any of those extra seed beads, and then straight through the entire center of that toggle again. And what I want is for those beads to kind of fold over a little bit. There we go. And now I've got just that pretty little decoration right there. So that has now blocked up one side of this toggle bar. So now we can insert our little piece of metal, and if you need to, you can kind of push it down with your needle. And now we can do the same thing on this end. So we're going to pick up the fire polish and 3 seed beads. Bring that back down to the end. Pass back through the fire polish. And then I like to reinforce both these little ends here because they're kind of sticky outy and they're going to get knocked around a lot. And so I like for these little end embellishments to get more reinforcement. So what I did is I went straight through the entire center of that toggle. Now that piece is in there, it's stiffened, I can no longer bend this. And all I have to do is reinforce this pathway here and back and forth. My rule of thumb is I like to get at least 3 passes of thread through there. So creating the attachment is 1 pass, and then I would reinforce it twice, back and forth. Then you're just going to end your thread off in the toggle like you normally would. Same thing with your tail thread. You can end that off. And then you've got a completely reinforced toggle bar that will not bend on you. See, it's a paper clip. Who knew? Things are so much easier sometimes than we try to make them out to be. I've seen all sorts of crazy solutions for trying to make a toggle bar straighten. Paper clip. Thanks, Maggie Meister. I hope this helps you in your beading, and I will see you again soon with more tips.